Well, let's turn to some business news now, and a global retreat seen on many main markets as traders grow increasingly concerned over possible inflation rises, which could lead to a hike in interest rates. Here, first of all, is how things finished up on Wall Street. The Dow Jones eked out a small gain to inch into the green before closing. The S&P 500, however, down 0.7%, and the Nasdaq, meanwhile, dropping almost 2.5%. Big tech stocks were largely responsible for major rallies on the market throughout this pandemic. On the main Asian indexes, here's a look at the latest figures. As you can see there, it's currently green across the board. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong doing the best so far. It's up almost 1.5%. Meanwhile, the cryptocurrency Bitcoin has dropped again, down 6% in Asia trade this Tuesday, trading at around $52,000, pulling back there from record highs. Well, we were looking earlier in the programme at the latest when it comes to the standoff between the United States and Iran and that nuclear deal. Iran's foreign minister estimates that the US sanctions have in fact cost the country's economy $1 trillion. The IMF, meanwhile, says that the last time Iran's GDP grew was back in 2017. Indeed, over half of the population are said to be living below the poverty line.
Iranian society is losing patience over the sanctions imposed on Tehran. In 2020, Iran's currency dropped to its lowest value ever against the dollar, and inflation may now exceed 60%. The result, more than 1 in 2 Iranians live under the poverty line. Amongst the reasons for Iran's economic woes, a recession triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic, and as a consequence, a drop in the price of oil, the country's main budgetary resource. Above all, though, it was the reimposing of US sanctions in 2018, after Washington, under Donald Trump, withdrew from the 2015 nuclear deal. Iran's foreign minister estimates that the sanctions have inflicted $1 trillion worth of damage on the country's economy, while the International Monetary Fund says that the last time Iran's GDP grew was in 2017. In 2015, Iran exported more than 4 million barrels of oil a day, compared to 1 million today. The Iranian public are hoping that their leader will engage in a dialogue with the new administration of President Joe Biden. If the sanctions are lifted, Iran could recover no less than $5 billion a month in oil exports.
Half of the visitors to Paris are said to come for professional conferences, but since the pandemic began, those meetings and indeed many fairs and festivals have been cancelled. The event sector already lost $33 billion last year, and the start of 2021 isn't looking very promising as yet. Mario Sofas brings us to meet some of those directly impacted.
The annual Paris International Agricultural Show usually welcomes some 600,000 visitors. This year, though, it's been cancelled, an indication of how the COVID-19 pandemic is threatening France's event sector. More than 300 similar shows have already been postponed in Paris. Many exhibition spaces are closed and events planners are feeling powerless.
Nous sommes à l'arrêt complet, sans personnel, sans clients. C'est la situation de l'événementiel aujourd'hui, encore.
As well as the empty venues, hotels too are deserted. This one in Paris's Montmartre neighbourhood has hardly welcomed any visitors since March. Only 2 of the 50 rooms here are occupied. The owner has been left disillusioned by the situation.
On a diminué de 60%, 70% notre chiffre d'affaires sur 2020. Et sur le mois de janvier, on est à 80% de baisse. Paris sans congrès, c'est plus Paris.
1 in 2 visitors who come to Paris come for professional conferences. Without these clients, organisers are left high and dry. In total, it comes at a loss of 4 to 5 billion euros for the French capital. For some, though, the COVID-19 crisis has proved to be a springboard for their businesses. Since 2010, this startup in the western city of Angers has been putting on virtual conferences and events. Calls haven't stopped flooding in since the arrival of the virus.
On a une demande qui est très très forte et il a fallu répondre à cette demande pour ne pas laisser les organisateurs de salons, je dirais, dans la panade.
Going virtual could be the future of events planning. In 2020, the sector suffered a total loss of 33 billion euros.